All right, good evening, everybody. Let's see. It's Thursday evening, and really, kind of apologize for the same format. It's night. It's dark. It's in my office. It's another talking head video. I'll try to change that up as these videos go by. But tonight, I just want to do a Q&A. So this is what I'm calling Q&A Part 1. I don't know if I'll do a one-for-one relationship between the videos you see, like Part 1 last night and then Q&A tonight, and then Part 2 tomorrow night and Q&A Part 2. We'll see. It really depends on what you guys do. But I think I wrote them down. I have 6 questions or statements from you guys that I thought warranted not only a response, but really a response here on the video. Because I think the answer is, are good for everybody who's actually paying attention to this series. So that's what tonight is. I'm going to Q&A 6 questions, and then we'll get off the video, and hopefully this one will be a little shorter than last night. And then parts 2 and 3 are written, so it's really just a matter of filming them and getting them up. So hopefully, I don't know if I'll keep up the one every night thing, but I would like to stay pretty connected and keep this series moving. So let's jump in. So the first question, in fact, this guy asked 3 or 4 that were pretty good. So here's the first question. When you sold the company, what happened to your employees? So basically they all transferred. I don't know of a single employee that got fired as part of the sale. I don't know if that's typical or not, but the company structure that I sold, we were a billable entity, kind of like a law firm. I mean, we weren't a law firm, but we were billable hours. And so the 400 people that were underneath me, all but about, 12 or 15 were fully billable. That means they had jobs inside a client site. They all have top secret or higher clearances. They were all critical to the protection of national infrastructure or critical to national projects. So every one of them kept their jobs. If they lost their jobs, it's because they quit and moved on. It's nothing to do with the sale. Even my staff, the executive staff, the management staff, and the headquarters staff, people left out of frustration or didn't like the new company that was taking over. But by and large, no one lost their job because of the sale. So the second part of that question is, let me just read it. Did you feel guilty that some presumably may have lost their job? And yeah, that was a big weight on me. In fact, I probably should have done this, sale a year or 2 ago. I probably could have been financially independent even a year ago or even 2 years ago. And the reason I didn't was having to look myself in the mirror every day and really trying to stare in the faces of all the people that had come to rely on me for jobs, for mortgages, for college payments, for car payments, for retirement planning. All those things weighed on me. And not only that, but the clients too. I'd become, very close with many of my clients. Some of them very high-placed executives. And, I would miss them. I still do, by the way. But we were pretty critical to their careers and to their projects. So it was definitely a feeling of guilt. And, luckily it transpired not to be so. But I also have to tell you, at some point you have to get out. If you guys do this and you own a company, even if you have 2 employees or 2,000 or 20,000 employees, eventually you have to get out. Eventually you need an exit plan. Now this is a way advanced topic for video 10 or 20, I don't even know, but what's your exit strategy when you get into this thing? Whatever it is, if you buy a franchise, if you start a family business, how are you going to get out of it? Are you going to die in harness? You're going to die at your desk. You're going to die at your job. Some choose to do that. Some will hand it off to a child. Some will sell it. But you have to plan an exit. And no one's going to like it. People understand it, but nobody's going to like it. But you have to decide when is enough. And I had decided that where I was in my life, financially and with my family, in particular with my kids moving on to college, this was the right time for me. And I'll talk about decision making on how to decide when it's right to exit. But for me, it was right. Went out at the top of my game. We were bigger than ever, growing faster than ever, more well-managed, more efficient than ever. There are a lot of arguments to stay in the game, but I went out at the top of my game. So So there's a line in Wall Street, that old movie from the 80s, when Bud Fox asks Gordon Gekko, how many yachts can you ski behind? When is enough? And you really do need to be thinking about that now as you get into this. How much is enough for you? Put a dollar figure to it. How much money do you really need to live on an annual basis? And how much money do you need in the bank to produce that number? Then we hit it, get out. Don't keep moving it. So that's what I did, and that's what got me out. Okay, so the third part of this person's question was really more of a statement, and I think it's something that we all hear and say to each other, and a lot of coaches and professional advisors say this, and I think there's some good to it, but I also think there's some very, very dangerous attitude behind it. So I just want to say it. I'm going to read the statement, and then I'm going to talk about it for a minute. So what was written was, I learned early in my career that no one will look out for me like myself. That's been a huge help when I've been at a job I hated and left and didn't feel bad. So no one's going to look out for you better than you. No one. You know, you have to do that. That is an absolutely true statement. But I would counsel you to approach that more from a position of how good are you? How great are you? How desirable are you? How needed are you? What are you worth? And, and not look at it so much as you got out of a job out of anger, or you screwed a company as you left because no one looks out for you better than you. I would take it not from the negative side, but more from the positive side. You know, if your job isn't growing you, if it's not fulfilling you, if it's not getting you ready for the next job, I do believe it's time for you to look somewhere else. If you want to keep moving. And only you are going to do that. Only you can decide if you're growing or not. Only you can decide if you're, being prepared for a next level. Only you can decide if you're working hard enough to be recognized as an expert. Are you, when you look around, are you the guy? Are you the one that's everyone goes to? Are you the expertise? Are you the best in the class? Are you best of everyone asks you around you? Are you the one they go to? And if you're not, you really need to ask why and try to overcome those things. So look out for yourself, but look out for yourself by becoming the best there is. I'll just leave it there. Be positive about it. Okay, so the next to last question really comes to me from a different angle, and I thought it was a really good question. So I'm just going to read it to you. The big data cloud companies are showing tremendous growth. Do you regret selling your company now when these kinds of companies are increasing revenues by leaps and bounds? I don't really care about big data companies. I mean, I really wasn't one. But the question goes to a larger point, and it's to the one we talked a little bit earlier about. When is the right time to get out? So I played the Next You'll Be Worth More game for like 10 years. And we've been growing. I think I told you yesterday, we were $25,000 our first year and $53 million last year. And they're going to be $100 million come at the end of this year. At the end of the year after that, to be 150 or 200 million. So, at some point you got to say, when am I getting out? When am I getting out for me? I'll tell you, if it's just for money, you're thinking wrong. It's not the only measurement of when to get out in your life. And so, no, I don't. The straight up answer is no, I don't regret it. The life I've had over the last 7.5 months has been truly amazing. My ability to become healthy like I have been, grow closer to my wife, get to know my son like I never really did, and be here for my daughter for the next 2 years before she rolls. Be more involved on YouTube, be more involved in my racing. No, I don't regret it a bit. Yeah, if I'd stayed another year, I probably could have, rather than 46 million, we could have sold for maybe 80, right? And brought 80 million home. And maybe if I stayed 2 more years, I could have brought 100 or 120 million home. So if that's how you measure yourself, then yeah, I would have deep regrets. But I thought through that. I mean, with malice of forethought, I chose the time to exit. And there are other forces that surround your company other than your revenue. And that is the environment in which you operate. And as a government contractor. I don't know what the elections are going to do next year. I don't know what Congress is going to be like in a year or two. I don't know where this China thing is going to go. What happens if something goes really bad in the Middle East? I just don't know. So I chose to pull the risk off the table. And maybe I'm sure I left a lot on the table, but I pulled enough off the table to achieve or overachieve every single one of my objectives. And so the lesson I would ask you to take away from that is nothing about me, but it's about you. You know, what are your objectives? And write them down and charge towards them. And as you get close, be very careful about moving the goal line. You know, cross the goal, get the touchdown, dance the dance. And maybe I'll go back into business, maybe I won't. Maybe I'll take this whole series into a lecture series and a book, and you know, I'll blow up public speaking. I have no idea where this is, with the second bite at the apple sometimes is what they call it. So, but no, I don't regret it, and I do know I left money on the table. All right, so actually I have two more questions. There's a bonus question here at the end I forgot about. So this is a statement that somebody made to me, and I know they were laughing and joking about it, but it is funny, but it's deadly serious, and so I just want to talk about it. So what he wrote was, what good is success and happiness if you're not around for it? And that's something you really have to think about, because if you're kind of goofing off right now, if you're not achieving at your maximum level, you're spending your retirement today. If you're 18 or 20 or 25 or 40 and you're not achieving and you're not performing at your best, you're spending time, you're spending money that could be yours after retirement, or whatever you want to call it, when you're done, when you're financially independent. You know, I got to do it at 55. I could have done it at 45 or 50 if I had not made some bad decisions or goofed off for a while. I mean, my 20s were not highly productive. So the second part is take care of yourself, and I mean physically. You know, I didn't do that, and I'm paying the price right now, and I hope not to be paying it, you know, 5 or 10 years from now, and I hope I didn't cut 20 years off my life. You know, I won't know for a long time, but you know, there are a lot of people dying of heart attacks at 55 years old, a bunch dying at 45 and 48. You know, if you're eating poorly and you know it, and you're not exercising and you know it, and you're drinking too much and you know it, and you're smoking too much and you know it, you're burning daylight, you're burning your time, you're burning your life. And so just be careful from two perspectives. I mean, it's one thing to charge at it and attain the goal, but then not be here to enjoy it. That's such a great concept to get burned into you, because you can wreck it from two ways. One, you're kind of pissing your life away right now, not doing what you know you're supposed to be doing. And you're pissing your life away physically by how you're behaving and the choices you're making about what you're putting in your mouth and what you're doing. So, I know it's a serious topic, but I just wanted to get out to you because sometimes people aren't talking to you about it. No one came to me at 25 and said, you were pissing your life away, dude. So I'm telling you, be careful from two perspectives. How are you performing, and how are you behaving for your own physical health? So that's it. Okay, so the last topic tonight, the question is, I made the statement that I'd sold my company for cash. And so I had two very fundamental demands during the sale negotiation. The one was that I exit on date of sale, or what we call it, close. It's kind of like closing on a house or a real estate. You know, you close on the deal. It's a very legal, very litigious, very long, very documented process. But eventually you have a closing where the signatures are released from escrow. The money is distributed by wire to the bank accounts, and you have a closing event. And so I exited the company upon close. I also asked for all cash at close. And so what happened was, we closed around 5:30 or 6 p.m. on Friday night, January 25th. And around 10 or 11 a.m. Monday morning, the 28th, all the funds transfers cleared the clearinghouses and actually entered our investment bank accounts. That was a big moment for me, around 10 or 10:30 when I was looking at, I'm at Wells Fargo, and we had the account up. It was zero, it was zero, it was zero, and then boom, all of a sudden the number was there. And that was a big moment in my life. So what are the options to cash? Because all cash is not normal. So more normal is a small business gets bought by a larger business, and the owners take ownership interests in the purchasing or the acquiring company. So I might own 100% of DHA, but I now own 2% of ASGN. One is worth 50 million, one is worth 4 billion. So you have to do the math to figure it out. But then as ASGN blows up or ECS blows up, you go for a second ride. Or you do some combination where you get a little bit of cash up front and then you get a second ride. The other thing to be aware of is what's called earnouts. Where a company will come and say, hey, we'll pay you $100 million, but we'll pay you 20 now and 20 for each of the next 4 years, but you have to hit certain performance goals. And then you have to hit those performance goals in their environment. No, it's no longer your environment. So I felt I'm a bit of a control freak. I have a lack of trust issue. I know it. And I just felt if I didn't get my money up front, I probably would not get the earnouts. And if I took my money or my payment in stock, I was a tiny cog in a massive project or a massive company, and I had very little control over my destiny at that point. So I took a bit less money, took it all in cash, took it all at close. I have no ownership interest in the companies that purchase us, and no one owes me any money over the next year or 2 or 3. It's all done. The transaction is over. So that's what I mean by cash, and that's what some of the other options are. So ownership of the company that bought you, cash now plus ownership, or more money and paid out over a number of years. Those are the options. Guys, that's it. That's all the Q&A I've got for tonight. I was surprised at how many people commented and asked questions. So thank you for that. I think clearly you guys are ready for this series. So tomorrow we'll move on. We'll do part 2. And that's it. Have a great night. Please keep asking questions. Suggest topics. What do you want to know about? And I will write about them. Thanks. Good night, everybody.